Hey everyone, today we are talking about how to read a soap recipe. We had a question from Nailed Events, and her question was, could you help us learn how to read and understand a soap recipe? There are so many sold online that look hard and overwhelming from a newbie's point of view. Could you help with that? And I would love to dive into that question today for Nailed Events and for all of you who are also wondering this. She's absolutely right. And I love the fact that her words say, I want to learn how to read and understand a soap recipe. Soap recipes can look intimidating and just like very mathy, very complicated. And they don't need to be that way, but also we want to talk about how to learn to read a soap recipe, because we got to start at the beginning before we're going to be able to be at the end and know what they're saying in the soap recipe. So let's talk first about what you're going to need to know and understand to get started learning how to read a soap recipe. Let's dive in. Learning to read a soap recipe can be very overwhelming. There's just a lot of information. There's a lot of different oils. There's all these percentages and everybody's recommendations about what their favorite combination is. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in. Some recipes only give their ingredients in percentages. And that introduces two questions. One, is this an accurate recipe? Because it's hard to tell with just the percentages. But also then you need to take those percentages and convert them into amounts for whatever the ingredients are. So now you have the question of, first of all, is this a good recipe? And second of all, am I doing the math correctly to identify like how many grams, how many ounces, how many whatevers of this oil to use? So now there's two variables in this recipe. It's just a lot of math to try to figure out as you're first learning how to do a soap recipe. Then, not all soap recipes are formulated correctly. Just because you saw it online does not mean that that recipe is a good one that you should be following. So every recipe that you find online has to be checked. You have to check it with a lye calculator or a soap calculator. We're going to go into that in just a minute. There's a lot of info to take in all at once. And then on the other side, some recipes are like, they seem to be super accurate with all of their percentages and stuff. And then there are other recipes that aren't accurate enough. They're telling you to measure 2/3 of a cup of something or a 1/4 cup of lye. And because we're dealing with chemistry, I am not comfortable with recipes like that, because your 1/4 cup and my 1/4 cup could be different because, whether you level it off with a knife or whether it's indented a little bit or piled up, it's just not accurate enough. I want to know, because this is chemistry, I want to know exactly how much of each ingredient we need. And we also need to make sure we're not making mistakes there. If your 1/4 cup is heaped up a little bit, your soap might end up with too much lye, and then that would make a soap that would burn. So I want my recipes to be based on weight, not on volume measurements like 2/3 of a cup or 1/2 a cup or whatever. So it needs to be a little bit more accurate than that. And also, I've been on some forums where people are asking for a good recipe, and the answers they get are just, well, I like using coconut, olive, and palm, and castor oil. But there are no amounts there. So you still have to know how to get started with those combinations. Because some oils you can use to a higher percentage and some are only recommended to a smaller percentage. And you have to know that before you can get started with those recommendations. I think that those people are wanting to answer the question without giving away the secrets of their personal recipe. So that's just another thing to navigate there too. So you've got it on both ends. You've got the recipes that look very technical, very accurate, very specific, and you've got the ones that are a little more loosey-goosey on the other side. So how do we bring it in? How do we break into this world and get started? I'm going to show you how to get started with a soap recipe. And the thing is, you have to get started in a place where you're comfortable, and there just has to be a jumping off spot. So let's talk about, how do you get started? Where do you start learning to understand a soap recipe? The first thing you need to do is start in a place that you're comfortable Start with a recipe you trust. If you don't have a recipe, if you don't know where to start, you don't have a recipe that you trust, you could absolutely start with one of ours. One of our very beginning soap recipes is in the comments below this video. Just click on that link, print off that recipe, and that can be your starting spot to start with a recipe you trust. Now we're going to take it to actually my favorite soap calculator, lye calculator on brambleberry.com, and we're going to put that recipe through the calculator and see how it measures up to the calculations in the calculator there. So let's scoot over there and take a look at Brambleberry's lye calculator and see how our recipe holds up. Get the one out of the comments and let's go check it out. All right, everyone. So let's take that recipe that you got from the comments below this video. This is one of our recipes at Sassy Soapers, one of our very beginning unscented, uncolored goat milk soap recipes. So if you've got that in front of you, let's go ahead and check that recipe at the lye calculator, excuse me, at brambleberry.com. So let me click a couple of buttons here and let's just take a look at Brambleberry's lye calculator. Here we go. Okay, so now this is brambleberry.com. This is their website. And if you just go in the search up here, in their search bar, they have this little search bar that comes out from the side, but go ahead and put in the words lye calculator, and you can abbreviate just a little bit there. There we go. Now it's bringing you to the page that has their lye calculator. We're going to go ahead and click on this to use their lye calculator. All right. And now we need to answer some questions about what soap we're going to try making at this website. So we're going to make a solid soap. Go ahead and click that. I'm going to use ounces. If you would prefer to use grams, that's okay. If you have a recipe that you're checking, the next recipe you do, if it is just in percentages, you can do that as well. But this recipe is in ounces, so let's go ahead and do that. We're also going to choose a superfatting level that is 0. Now let's go to next. And now we need to choose our ingredients here. So I am looking for, and again, there's a search bar up here, so click into that. I want to use coconut oil. Here it is, so I can add it. I'm just going to add it to see how it put it right here. It's just asking me what oils am I using. Palm oil. And I'm just adding it to the recipe. We'll add the amounts of each one in just a minute. So add palm oil. And now we're going to use olive. Now I want to show you a couple things here. Do you see how there's 2 different kinds of olive oil? If you are just making your very first attempt at soap, don't get the pomace olive oil. It's a great oil for soap making, but it accelerates. That means it moves very quickly, and it can move just too quickly for beginners to kind of get hold of what's going on. So if you are just making your first batches of soap, go ahead and do olive oil pure. If you're purchasing that, you'll need just the yellow olive oil. That's our recommendation for beginners in soap making. All right, so now we've got all of our ingredients here. Go ahead and click done. Now let's go through and put in the amounts. Now again, we're checking the recipe that you got from us, from Sassy Soapers. So you've got this. So all the amounts are on that recipe. So first, coconut oil. We need 5.6 ounces of coconut oil. Again, I just got that right off the recipe. 5.6 ounces of palm oil, and olive oil, 12.8. And now we're going to hit next. Now this is where the calculator does its magic to figure out what amounts of things are needed as far as the liquid goes and as far as the lye goes. So if you scroll down a little bit, here's our coconut oil, our palm, our olive oil. It tells us the percentages that we have of each oil. So, I mean, if you wanted to know that, you can. In fact, I would make note of those percentages just on your recipe. Just write down what they are. You will start to recognize, oh, is this a correct percentage? Or, oh, this is a way higher percentage of something than this recipe I checked before. It's just for reference. You're not going to start using those percentages, But just for reference, as you then look at other recipes, you'll be able to compare, oh, this one had this, but this one shows something different. So go ahead and make note of those, but we're not going to use them at this point. Now go up, scroll up. You see where it says lye and liquid? Let's look at that. The lye amount says 3.56 ounces. Now let's compare back to the recipe that you have printed. What does it say? 3.6. Now, in our recipes, we only go to the 1/10 of an ounce because that's where my scale stops measuring. So we rounded a little bit, but 3.56 rounds to 3.6. So that amount is accurate. Now let's look at the ounces of liquid, 7.95. Look at ours. And again, our liquid now for our recipe is goat milk, and it says 8 ounces, which again, 7.95 rounds to 8. So we did a little bit of rounding, but those measurements then are accurate up to the 1/10 of an ounce on our recipe as well. So that's how you check a recipe using Brambleberry's lye calculator. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, you can print this recipe if you would like to. That way you've got all the percentages and things. So as you go forward, you'll be able to compare, does this recipe match up with the one I checked already? So that's how you use this lye calculator. Now that you've checked our recipe on Brambleberry's soap calculator, or lye calculator, sorry, that's what they call it, and you know what that looks like, you know how that works, you know what to expect out of that calculator, go find another recipe now, maybe one that you've been looking at or a different one that you found somewhere, and take it back to Brambleberry and go through that same process. Put in all the oils and their amounts and check to see if the liquid amount and the lye amount are the same. If they are, you've got a good recipe. If they're not, you found one that should be recalculated before you use it in your own soaping experiments. So go and now find another recipe, check it on the Brambleberry calculator, and see what you come up with that other recipe. If you find that you're feeling overwhelmed looking at any particular recipe or any particular forum or even a different soap calculator other than Brambleberry's, you're just in the wrong spot. I know that the soap calculator at soapcalc.net is it's very inclusive. You can do anything from any direction on that soap calculator, but it's also very mathy, very plain. It looks like you need to have some kind of a math degree to even be allowed to run it. So it's just not beginner friendly. It's a very powerful tool, but it's not beginner friendly. Go to Brambleberry's, use their tool. Eventually you're going to learn enough to be able to handle other calculators like that. But in the end, having a very simple one is very okay as well. There is lots to learn when it comes to soap making, but it doesn't all have to be learned at once. Okay? Start small, start where you're comfortable, and just start experimenting, checking other recipes and getting used to checking those with the soap calculator. And you will then get more comfortable with the recipes, more comfortable with the oils and kind of what percentages are normal for those oils. And you'll just continue to add to your experience and to your knowledge and also just your level of comfort with these different recipes. So start small and add on to your knowledge as you go. Now remember, the best way to learn about soap making is through experience. Learning to read recipes is helpful, but it doesn't give you the same amount of learning as actually making soap. So if you would like to jump in to soap making, I would say all you need is to find one good recipe. And you know, because you checked it, that the one in the comments of this video is actually a good recipe. It's a great place to start. Get your ingredients. If you'd like, you can watch the video that is linked above me right now and watch a demo where I go through showing you exactly how to make your very first batch of goat milk soap. So you can check out that video if you'd like to jump into that. But you don't need anything other than a good recipe. Watch the video so you've got all your safety stuff together, and then just dive in and make soap. And I think you will find that you'll learn a lot along the way just by the experience of having tried soap making. In our next video, we're going to discuss some different additives you can add to your soap making as you are getting started and you're just experimenting with some different things in soap making. We'll talk about these things you can add and what benefits or what they do to the soap and how that can benefit your soap bars. We got this question from one of our other videos. One of you submitted the question, so we've chosen that one to do a whole nother video on. So that will be our next video. If you have a question about soap making that you would love to ask, put that in the comments below this video, and I'm taking notes, I'm writing down the ideas, and if it's something that we've already talked about, I'll let you know where you can look. If it's a new question that we want to do a video on, you might find that one of our next videos answers your question. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments, and I would love to chat about your soap making question. Have fun finding your recipes, checking them out, and getting started with your soap making. I can't wait to see what you create.